You're listening to the most fraudulent F1 podcast with Dan, aka Engine Mode 11.
I secretly moonlight as Helmut Marko at race weekends.
And Blake, aka Brrrake.
Echo chambers of farts and idiots on Twitter after races.
It's the Engine Breaking F1 podcast.
Oh my goodness. Welcome to the No China Grand Prix break. This is take 3 of the podcast now after loads of technical difficulties. You can see if you're watching this on video, we've got a guest today. We'll get to him in a second. But my name is Blake, aka Brrrake, and I am joined by Engine Mode 11, aka Dan, my internet husband and fraudulent co-host of this terrible podcast. Probably the least wheel knowledge Formula 1 podcast on the internet. And we are joined today by Jake, aka JP1 Design. Welcome, dude. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good to see the pair of you. Because I tend to see you, Blake.
Yeah.
I think I saw Dan one time in my building.
Yeah.
And that was like, yeah. It was like a passing, nice beard, man. And that was kind of
cheers, lad. Yeah, you're the dude that's always in trouble on Twitter, aren't you? But you're probably wondering, how do Jake and Dan know each other? Well, we all used to work at Red Bull once upon a time. And I think over the last 12, 14 months, we've all kind of moved on. So we'll get to that in a minute. But what do we got going on tonight, Dan? What's the sketch? What's the sitch?
I just thought we would talk some bullshit, really, with another former Red Bull employee. You know, we had a week off. We enjoyed our week off. You went touring around the country in the back of a van.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually great.
Just as dodgy as it sounds.
It was pretty sketchy. Enjoyed some nice beers. What about you? You done some gardening today? I've done some gardening. Jake, did you do any gardening today?
In spirit.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Gardening.
I appreciate that.
I reached out and felt the tremor in the force, and I knew that Dan was gardening.
Better pick up the shears, mate.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Well, why don't we get into it? Because we don't have a race. There's no race this weekend. We've just had IndyCar. We've had Portimao. Well done, Seb. My boy Boemi's just got that dub. Jake Dennis is out in the Nordschleife doing some laps. He just posted a picture and it was said, Houston, we have a problem. Like, mate, it's Houston, you goober. But this BMW was literally 3 wheels in the air with the right rear wheel barely touching on the Nordschleife. I was like, God, that gets me excited. So that's happening. We got IndyCar, Portimao, some Nordschleife, some GT Legends, and we've got another weekend off before we get back to well done Baku.
Yeah, we're supposed to be racing in China today, weren't we?
Yeah, I missed that track, honestly. I like it was like I've been to that event like 5 times. It was fun, but the track's awesome. The track is super cool. Like the grandstands are completely empty half the time, and down around the hairpin at the end of the track, it's just like they bannered it up with advertising because there's nobody there. But that circuit is actually badass. We've had some spectacular races there.
It's the time zone difference. That's why Japan, yeah, God forbid I have to change my schedule to accommodate another race.
How dare you?
That's not how it works.
All right, well, it's gone, and it might come back next year. But anyway, why don't we get into it? Let's talk about you a little bit. And what interesting, your username JP1 Design. Your name's Jake, but why'd you go with that username? I heard it's because you're getting death threats.
Oh God, yeah, so many death threats. Fight promoters were coming in and sort of saying, "Hey, do you want to get the bag?"
Yeah, you're trying to punch up.
Yeah. I was having like 12-year-olds sort of piping up because there was, all these YouTube celebrity boxing matches. Do you want to get involved? And I was like, well, I've only got like 1,000 subscribers. Like if I kind of hit the big time. Yeah, no, I mean, if you don't know, now you're going to know. JP is short for Jacques de Paul, also known as Jake Paul in English and not, pig French.
Croissant?
So, yeah,
Croissant?
I mean, great, lovely set of circumstances that is. I mean, do you know what's funny? I once ordered something. This is when I was working at F1. I ordered something on eBay, and I get the parcel come through, and on the back, the guy had written YouTuber with a question mark because said Jake Paul on it, and I was, oh, it's so funny. So funny.
Oh my god, is it YouTuber? Maybe one day, but not right now, bro.
No, wrong guy. Wrong.
Call him back. Like, I'd love to take you out. You want to buy me dinner? We can chat sometime.
Yeah. I'll hook you up with all the prime, bro.
Free dinner.
No,
but
no.
So for those of you guys that do know, Jake's pretty notorious motorsport graphic designer, and also absolutely spectacular. But for those of you that don't know how he got there and what he's been doing in the meantime and the whole backstory, why don't you start us off? Where did your career start in the professional world before motorsport?
Way back. No. I started off in working in law. Like I've got a law background, which is like super boring. But at the time, like you're kind of thinking about money. When you're back in college, not necessarily thinking about like what am I good at or
what are my passions?
Do I like? Yeah. No. You're thinking like, right, doctor. Like doctor, lawyer. I mean, and it was kind of like I'm stupid. I'm not going to get a doctor. I'd never be a doctor. Lawyer, I might be able to talk my way into. It's about talking. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll do that.
I'm just going to blag it. All right. No, but let's
exactly. And then obviously you've got like I have my parents at the time were like, wanting to sort of, hey, we want to tell our friends. Obviously, they don't have this conversation, but they want to tell their friends, Jake's going to hit the big time. This is the big time, baby. So obviously I kind of like fell into sort of being like, yeah, I'll take law, I'll be great at that. I was okay at it. I'll give myself some credit. I was okay at it. Went into that, hated every waking second of my existence doing that. I mean, I'm not bad at that life. I got there and I realized I didn't care half as much as the other people did about being there. Which,
it's not a good recipe for anything, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, you need to think about what it is that you actually enjoy doing. Because, if you go into a job, you're going to be spending how many hours of your day, of your week, doing something that you're not particularly bothered about. So, it was in law. Then I jumped over to banking because I figured, hey, I seem to just thrive in a corporate environment. Yeah. Why don't I go to another one?
Suit me up.
Exactly. So I went into that. I hated that even more because that was just spreadsheets and it's PPI.
I love spreadsheets, though.
Hell yeah.
Bro,
spreadsheets. If Sabu's in chat, Sabu knows what's up about the spreadsheet life. You know what I'm saying? But I get that. So obviously something clicked at some point. And you're like, I got to do something else.
Yeah. Like I had this boss who everything was like a football analogy, but they were like really complex football analogies that like even diehard football fans, like in like the team and the wider sort of working teams, would sort of kind of go, well, where is he going with this? He's like, so if you imagine, guys, that like Wolves are in a 3-5-2 and we're gonna go up, we're gonna pinch the opposing center, and everyone's like, what? Like this. It's like 8:58, bro. Like we haven't even had coffee. I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't come at me with that shit yet, bro.
It was this, it's stuff like that. I was just kind of like, I don't care. Like this is not what like is giving me vibes. And if I'm honest as well, like the mental health hit it sort of took on me at the time as well because everything's targets. Yeah, which is
you should be a content creator, dude. It would be great.
Bro, yeah, like
it's a good idea. It's totally a good idea. You should totally do that.
Totally different, right? So it was all about targets, and again, when you're doing something you're not bothered about, it's really hard to motivate yourself into that. So I'd actually been a graphic designer for a short amount of time when I was at university, and I was like, "There's one job that I know I could do, and care about." And
that you knew that you enjoyed it.
Exactly. Like I would go home and. I had to like kind of like relearn how to do a lot of stuff because I hadn't done it in like several years. I'd forgotten what Photoshop was and I'm so used to spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are shit.
Mate, I'm gonna fight you after this. We're gonna have to have a boxing match. I think you could take me. You got some reach, some height on me.
I got reach. I'll give you that.
All right,
my
Dan,
wingspan is crazy.
I challenge you to trial by combat, and I nominate Dan to fight you for the glory of the spreadsheet.
Oh, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I don't know. Dan could just give a look, and I would just kind of be like,
he's
"No,
so
you know
powerfully
what?
built."
Yeah, I've got like a really bad resting bitch face and a really miserable sounding voice, but honestly, I'm really happy. Like on the inside, I'm joyous.
No, I know. Unreal. So long story short, fuck a spreadsheet. And you dabbled in the design arts, and that was one of those things. It was like the passion. So talk us, like, fast forward us through let's get to the motorsport bit. Like, how did the collision of Jake from fuck a spreadsheet to
right. So basically, long story short, I leave banking. I quit on the spot. I'm like, right, this is just too much now. Like, I am done. I leave there. I tell my parents that, like, oh, I've got a job lined up, which was a complete lie. And I spend 2 months in my bedroom basically having to, like, remember how to, like, be a graphic designer. I don't know anything about portfolios or any of that stuff, or how to interview as a graphic designer,
or do a deck or anything like that.
Nothing. So I basically kind of like YouTube, online courses, whatever it is, like just trying to absorb as much as possible, build a portfolio, and then like just see what happens. I get a job at an independent shoe company. My corporate ass rolls up to like this really swanky independent like shoe company in like Shoreditch, which is like super hipster, and you know they're wearing combat shorts and flip flops, and I roll through the door wearing a full 3-piece suit and like laptop.
You got the pocket watch and everything.
Dude, like I mean, they opened the door and they thought I was like trying to sell them something. I was like, no, I'm here for an interview. And by this point, I'd legitimately. I mean, I'm sure every time I get asked this, the number changes, but we are talking hundreds and hundreds of applications, because obviously I'm some dickhead with I've got no experience being a graphic designer. Go in there, dude gives me a shot. He gives me a week trial, do the week trial, get a job out of it, and then I work there, and that was kind of my foot in the door. Blow my ACL out playing American football, lose my job as a result because I couldn't get to the office anymore, and they just were like, can't be bothered.
I didn't know about that.
Dude, it was bad. It was really bad.
That's because you called it football.
What, American football?
Yeah, you did. You can't use that word.
Yeah, but like, I will call it American football. And then I will sometimes switch to soccer. Yeah, depending like who I'm talking to, because I've got to kind of differentiate. Like,
if anybody's looking, Dan just shakes his head when Jake said soccer.
Anyone calls it soccer, then I'm throwing down.
All right, so you are going to fight.
We are fighting then. We are fighting. Let's go.
All
right, Stevenage FC, we'll do it there.
All right, let's go.
Yep, hell yeah.
All right,
who is it?
Creed 4, baby.
Oh, the Irish traveller boxer. What's his name? Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury, yeah.
Yeah, he rocked up there to watch a boxing match at Stevenage once in a Ferrari, which I thought was really weird and surreal. So yeah,
kind of badass though.
It's kind of fucking sick. Yeah.
Stevenage has got quite a big traveller community as well, and it's like the outskirts, a couple of static sites and things like that. So they were loving it.
The OG shows up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know what? Hit him up on Twitter. Get him in the ring. Get him to back you up.
Tyson Fury, fucking hell! You seen the size of him?
Yeah, he's gonna
makes me look small.
He's gonna back you up
now.
Oh, I don't know.
You might have like put the weight back on and really generate the power. I'm talking myself into a fight now.
So you guys aren't going to fight. We're not going to call it soccer anymore for the rest of the podcast.
No, I'll try not to.
So how did you end up? How did you end up working in Formula One? Because I think that's like people like where are we going with this? And so
where are we going?
We're here. We're here. The future is now.
So I've blown my knee out. It's Christmas time as well, so it's like super depressing. And then I go, I'm applying for jobs again. This time it's slightly better because I've actually got a portfolio and I've actually got I'm halfway decent, I guess. And then I get a call off a recruiter who's like, "Hey man, I've been trying to fill this role for a while. It's with a sports agency. Sweet, cool, sounds great to me. American football? No. Football? No." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, these are sports I'm not these are sports I care about." It was like, what is there? It's like Formula One. I'm like, who watches this? Like, it's just they go around. It's like, because to me, my only exposure to F1 prior to working in it in 2017 was like watching the Schumacher Invitational. Like when I'd be trying to like skip through the channels on a Sunday, like what? Well, that's channel. What is it, like ITV? So you'd be like, oh, ITV is out of action for the next like 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't know what's going to be on. So anyway, I go to the interview. I'm like, rah, I'm gonna see. Just go there for the experience.
Yeah,
got the job. Yeah, and I mean this agency, they were doing stuff with Hilton was like one of their main sort of clients and partners. So I ended up watching the 2017 Australian Grand Prix, which was my first race, and I've heard all this stuff about McLaren. I mean, I'm in the interview, by the way, and they're like, "Oh, what do you know about F1?" And I'm like, "So Lewis Hamilton still a thing?" Like, I don't know. Like, is he there? I feel like he's there.
Yeah.
And
they're like, "This guy is hopeless."
Oh, dude. I mean, but I think ultimately, kind of, it boiled down to if you're, because I mean, it repeated again later on when I joined F1. In that, because I don't have like, I'm not going to turn around and sort of say, "Oh my god, like I have such sentimental like memories of like Monaco or something." I'm not bound by it, and likewise, like I'll kind of think outside the box just because I don't know what the box is. Like I don't know what that looks like, etc. So they gave me the job, and it was just a case of like learning as fast as possible, like what's going on. I was sort of like, what's McLaren? Like, tell me more about like this.
Putting the context all together.
Exactly.
So I didn't realize you were like quite late into the sport, because like 2017 for a lot of people listening to this now, probably like 2017 feels like an eternity ago for a lot of people.
It does, yeah.
Especially a lot of people have come on board with Drive to Survive and everything else, but. Dude,
you know how mad I was when I got context and found out 2016 up until 2021 was like the greatest year for like the longest time. Like obviously Lewis versus Nico.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I missed what? Like
you missed that?
This wasn't on the news. I don't like how did so here's what it is. I end up watching that back. But yeah, it was just a case of learning as much as possible about, F1, the industry, sport, how does that all kind of work? And luckily for me, the guys I was working with, shout out to Ryan and Derek, who definitely aren't watching this because they're boomers, but they gave me a crash course in what it is to be like a professional graphic designer, a graphic designer in sport, and then I've kind of carried that on. So
that's super
fast forward, went from the agency, had a sabbatical from sport because I needed to buy a house and I needed a pay rise. I wasn't getting any agency. Came back to sport, worked for Formula One over COVID, then went to the infamous Oracle Red Bull Racing.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them. Washed. And now find myself at Silverstone Circuits.
That is fucking wacky, man. So it's just like, it's been like everything. So you've gone outside of graphic design for an agency, graphic design for Formula One, for a team, and now for another circuit or another part of the industry. You can't get away from it. Yeah.
But I mean, I think on the F1 graphic designer Thanos rings, I think the only one I've got left is media. Like if I worked for
Sky, BBC,
or something like that. Yeah, I think that would be the full package.
Someone needs to go to Sky and stop them from deep frying all the images they post online.
Please, saturation 11.
People tag me in those sometimes and act like I did it, and I'm like, why would I don't own graphic design in Formula One.
Yeah, but you're the face of it now. But seriously, get that saturation knob and fucking break it. Seriously, that is. But so now you're working for Silverstone. You've left Red Bull Racing, but we're gonna go back and talk about a lot of the Red Bull Racing stories. And I think you, Dan, and I all have we dabble in these sometimes, but I think we might dig into some of the shithousery. Nothing terrible, but just the fun stuff, the highs, the lows, and it's not all champagne and BJ's like everybody thinks. And we're gonna explain it from 3 points of view. But what's up with? I keep seeing this shit of Jesus with the Beretta knocking on the door, calling you Judas. Now that you've gone from doing some of the most brilliant posters of the Red Bull gang and stuff, and they saw you doing some Lewis Hamilton throwbacks, highlighting some of these iconic things, and they're brilliant. And they're like, you can't do that, man. You're Red Bull. It's like, what is that?
It's a Red Bull for life, if I was going to quote, for my 90s wrestlers fans out there. NWO. I don't really know, because I'm kind of like where were you in 2020 and 2021 when I was doing this before? Like, I worked at F1, so like I couldn't. I wanted to sort of sit there and be like, oh, cool, I'm going to do another Lewis post because I love Lewis, but I couldn't. Like, you know, F1, they can't just favorite a driver, so you have to kind of be impartial and be like, okay, we're going to do a graphic about Checo, we're going to do a graphic about George. And I come to Red Bull, and I mean, me moving from F1 to Red Bull was a bit of a kind of eyebrow raising thing anyway when I announced it, because I was known as kind of the Lewis graphics guy. I did all these graphics over the time of 2020, I think it was, when he was breaking all these records, you know, tied Schumacher and everything else. For me to then go to Red Bull, and now I can't do any of that because obviously I don't work, you know, I work for a team. It'd be a bit weird if the Red Bull dude was doing just Merc graphics or something.
Jake's out of hours stuff. He's like, oh, Sir Lewis, let me just do this new collage. And he's like, we've got the special burner laptop that Dr. Marco can't find.
Do you know what? I thought about making a burner account a couple of times and just like posting graphics under it. It's like a pseudonym or like it's like a pen name, and no one would know it was me apart from the fact it would look identical to anything I've made.
One PJ.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we'll get back into like. Because like I know there's probably a lot of people are always asking us, how do you get a job in F1? Dan's done a video on it. I've done a video on it. We need to come back. We'll put a pin in that and come back to it, because I think that's some super interesting stuff. And we'll talk about some of the highs and lows of Red Bull. But we've got some news, and why don't we talk through it real quick? So one of the most interesting things that's been circulating the other day from a very, very reputable news site, probably one of the copy pasta merchants. Did you guys heard this? The leaked clip.
Yep.
Or not leaked clip, or it's a BBC interview of a Mercedes engineer talking about the development of the cars. It actually was just Sam Bird, who was their reserve driver at the time. I'm not sure if he was their simulator driver at the time, but the year...
I think he was.
Yeah,
I saw someone saying he was.
Yeah.
But usually, if you're a reserve driver for a team, you've been driving their simulator, and Mercedes usually keep a pretty busy stable of sim drivers. But the clip basically was this Sam talking about the FIA are going to Mercedes are going to FIA saying like, here's the stuff, and like, you know, this is before the 2014 the hybrid power units came in. You know, 3-4 years in advance, and they're going to the FIA, and FIA are like, hey, how should we do this? And they're like, oh yeah, you should definitely do it like this, and that will help us the way we can optimize our engine for it. And these people are freaking out. Like now they're freaking out in reflection of this. Like, you can't do that, it's so corrupt. It's like the FIA doesn't have the technical resources to do that stuff. Like, they need to lean on teams to do simulations and work, and does this work or does that work? And people are like, this is shambles, this is cheating. It's like, get a fucking grip. Did anybody else have a different take from that? Because that's all I could see is like somebody was trying to spin this like it was some horrible conspiracy bound for the fraud files, which we'll get to later. But it was literally Formula One engineer.
It was a complete non-issue, wasn't it, really? I mean, I think we've spoken about it on Twitter that all the teams took part in the hybrid regulations and the formation of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you say, I think it was just someone trying to make a name for themselves, really.
No,
and it was taken from like a Radio 5 live interview as well. So it was not like some sort of secret hidden conversation. But
it's like, this has been everywhere, and if you put it in context of that, it's actually nothing. And it's interesting to think about that, though. But now I think the FIA do have more groups that are able to do simulations and stuff, but at the same time they still have to lean on teams. The technical working groups are comprised of all the team's technical people that are in those meetings saying like, here's what we want on the regulations, here's what we don't want on the regulations, and it goes to votes. So it's like, that's just how race car work. It's not the big evil Mercedes double standard cheat codes. This is just but yeah, this is no Sam Bird slander, just in case you're wondering. But like, that's you know, and if it was a simulator driver, and it was him, if he was their simulator driver at the time, he would have been privy to a lot of those conversations about what they're doing with the information. You know, he's probably doing 8-hour shifts in the simulator cockpit, just like, meh. Of course, like you're gonna be like, what am I doing this for? He's like, shut up and drive. You know nothing. Like, how does it feel? Okay, next. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. There was but I feel like there's nothing else to that, really, is there?
No, I mean, like I used to when I worked for F1, our department was next to the motorsport department.
Yeah.
So sort of the team there, their entire job is kind of, I mean, when was I there? 2019 to 21. So they were coming up with the 2022 regs.
Yeah.
And sort of like running that through like a fine tooth comb and trying to like develop that out. But their resources, like especially now, like I've got the context of being in the F1 office and then walking through the Red Bull sort of engineer, design, yada 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 sort of offices. They don't have like the manpower, the person power, the IT infrastructure.
Yeah, they don't have any. They don't have any of that.
They don't have any of that. Like I remember I suggested Blender at one point for like an animation thing or something, and it ended up sort of helping them simulate some of the wake coming off of a car.
They're using Blender to draw the
no, don't take that out of context. But like, at the time they needed to simulate it for like a PowerPoint presentation or something.
Fine.
So there I'm trying to plug all this information into Blender, and do you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't have that at Red Bull or another team. They would have some kind of program
all the
or
proprietary software
function
for that. Yeah, it's like
exactly.
we need to do visualization, right?
Yeah,
export,
bam, none of that.
Yeah, but that's different. But I think more and more you'll start to see the FI needs to bring people in house. But at the same time, the people that have the expertise are in the teams, and you do see them snagging some chief technical dudes. But usually they're so far up at the top of the list, it doesn't matter. But in other news, like this has been a super quiet week, and we've got one piece of news we're saving for a new segment later in the stream. But did you guys see the was it the Chris Kyle skate ramp on the hot air balloon? So I don't know if you saw, Jake, you must have saw that. Dan, I don't know if you saw that, but like when I was leaving, so the Red Bull technology built that skate ramp. It's carbon fiber, like the rails and stuff were probably steel, but like it's a super lightweight structure because they have to hoist this whole, if you haven't seen it, check it out on the Red Bull website, but hot air balloon hoisting up a skate ramp, and this dude's up above the Cotswolds or something doing all sorts of tricks. And it's so funny because he's got a parachute on his back just in case things go a little bit wrong, and then in the balloon there was a spare bicycle as well just in case he accidentally had to yeet the bike out to keep afloat. But they were actually building that when I was on my way out of the place. You probably saw it around there as well.
Yeah, I saw it. They were welding it together, or I don't know, like gluing it together. I don't know what the
welding the steel, bonding the
super
carbon.
Glue? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, just duct tape. Yeah, exactly. The duct taping it together. Yeah, because I had to go in there. I had to go in the warehouse, take some photos of something. I can't remember what. I think I was taking like reference photos of some of the tires because obviously they had all the cars on the racks, which is a pretty cool room.
Yeah.
So I've gone in there to take photos. Yeah. So I've gone in there to take reference images, and then was kind of confused as to what it was that had just taken up 90% of the walking space in there.
Yeah.
And then found out, like, I was like, hi, what's going on? It was like, oh, building in a skate ramp. It's like, in here or why?
Why?
I was like, it's not like a high ceiling. Like if you got enough air, you would splat. So I was kind of like,
They're trying to.
Like, yeah, no, we're going to put it in a hot air balloon. I was like, all right, yeah, you've not made that any less crazy.
You guys are definitely not on the good stuff. Let me know your dealer's number. I'll talk to you later. All right.
Exactly. So. Oh, and then they did the sort of test with it in the car park, which was.
Oh, they hung it up on a crane or something, didn't they?
Yeah. So I think we got told don't take pictures. So I'm pretty sure I don't have a picture. But yeah, it was kind of wild. Like everyone just kind of out there. It's freezing cold because it's winter as well. And we're just like, right, we're going to watch a guy go on his like bike and his skateboard, whatever it was, and they're just going to hoist him up. It's like if anyone was driving past, I don't know what you would even think was happening because you would see him just kind of coming up and getting air. Yeah, so it's mad.
That is fucking wacky. That is fucking nuts, man. Those guys are doing stuff. So that's Red Bull Advanced Technologies, and they do all sorts of the other projects and stuff there. Very cool stuff, and a lot of the stuff we probably will never hear about that goes on in that place, honestly. But at least we got to see this, and you haven't seen that, check that one out. We're not getting paid to advertise that. It's just freaking cool.
I am.
Are you okay? Fun. Speaking of, we haven't really Okay, we're 30 minutes into an episode and we haven't mentioned Ferrari yet.
Probably a new record for us.
Yeah, talk to me.
Probably for
Goose.
the best as well. Probably for the best.
Well, good news, because they have officially pulled out their trump card for their right to review for the Carlos Sainz penalty.
When he did the Valtteri Bottas bowling move.
Yeah. So that they have a hearing on the 18th. So that's what the day after this is going to.
Yeah.
The day after you're listening to this, and yeah, they're just going to basically review Sainz's penalty from Australia. Which, you know what, fair play. I think they should do. I think Carlos probably should have been punished to some degree, but I think the inconsistencies of the timeline to penalise him, and because his was like bam, slam dunk, insta penalty. Yep. Where you've had other times where it's like we're going to wait half the race before we decide what we're going to do with.
I prefer them to slam dunk it rather than wait until the end of the race. Honestly. Yeah. But
they have to carry that consistency.
Fair.
And Logan Sargent gets away with Florida Man straight into the back of who was it? Yuki? No, it wasn't Yuki, was it? It was De Vries. We got that mixed up last time.
Yeah, that was me. It was Debris. But at the end of the day, what's the new information? Like the right to review, don't they have to have new information? Or
I believe so, but I don't know if it actually mentioned what that was.
Okay. We need to know. We're doing a podcast, and we're definitely going to influence this and like help them make the right decision. So we need to know this stuff.
I know. 100%. Sadly, they.
So what they're going to end up doing is they're going to review it and decide, you know what, 10-second penalty for you, and Logan Sargent's getting a 5-second penalty on top of being retired, which does nothing for him. So,
yeah,
great. I don't know, man, but like I guess the only other one is that Gasly and Ocon, I feel like they didn't give Gasly any of those penalty points because that will get him a race ban. And they were like, he crashed into his teammate, and it was kind of a racing incident.
Yeah, it's a little bit like you guys are going to punish yourselves in the background. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. And you're both out. But like, I got cooked on Twitter for saying that was 100% Gasly. I was like, I'm sorry.
Didn't they say that in the broadcast? Or did they not? I feel like they did. Because
I think even Gasly apologized to Ocon afterwards. So I'm like, yeah.
If you look at the replay, doesn't Gasly he comes off track and then he rejoins track, doesn't look to his right, or
does look and aggressively covers.
Side. Well, no, because I think if you watch the onboard, he's looking slightly. I don't know. Either way, look, I'm a big fan of Gasly, but even I think
me too.
That's on him.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so be it. So let's talk about the season so far. How do you? I don't know. Well, you guys have heard what Dan and I have thought about the season every week, and you must be sick of us right now. Thank you for still listening to our podcast. We love you. But where's your head at with the season so far? Like, are you enjoying it? Where are your allegiances? Who do you get excited for when they do well? Who do you because you don't work for Red Bull anymore.
Mm-hmm. Oh, in fact.
Oh, you got the hat. Hold on,
there we go.
Oh my God! I've got to.
Oh my God!
I've got to give it to you.
Let me just do that.
Oh, okay. Okay, now we're cooking.
Audio listeners, he has just whipped out a Mercedes hat. Not just any Mercedes hat.
The fluoro. Yeah, but because it kind of ticks several boxes. It's Silverstone.
Yeah,
I work for Silverstone.
Yeah, okay.
Lewis Hamilton
on brand.
I rep Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah,
that's kind of it, really.
All right. Well, now that Jake's pulled out the Mercedes cap, this podcast is over because Dan and I are way too biased. Dan in his Japan special edition white top. Me wearing.
Yep. How do you wear that? Honest to God, that thing, the Puma polyester count is insane, man. We put those on in the office, and within 3 seconds, the sweat down every sweat gland.
Yeah, it's because you lot in marketing always have something to fear and to hide, so you're always sweating. So
yeah, true. We're quite cowardly.
Exactly.
Because then when we put the that that day that's kind of, not talked about if you're not a Red Bull fan. When that thing happened in that year, in that time, those ones were made
the
of
greatest
the same
race
thing.
of all time, Abu Dhabi 2021.
Yeah, you said it, not me.
That's it. Time for overview.
Jake, for
that
audio
shirt,
listeners,
we put that shirt on over like the existing t-shirts we were probably wearing that day. And again, just the clumpy sweat that kind of is like
you might want to get that checked out, bro.
Like
you might want to get that checked out.
It's only those shirts.
Okay.
Only those shirts. They're terrible.
But
maybe I just like the feeling of being hot and sweaty,
Yeah, you muggy man.
Exactly.
So back on it. Now that you've got your Merc hat out, how are you feeling about this season? Because you rep Lewis. You've got Red Bull paid your mortgage for a while. You did a lot of really, really cool stuff for them. Where's your head at with the season? Like, how are you feeling about the racing, the pace, the gap between the teams in terms of performance and all of that? What are you thinking?
So I think because I didn't go from, say, my first exposure to F1 has always been kind of an objective one because I could kind of root to an extent for McLaren because, like I was doing stuff for Hilton at the time or whatever, but it was always kind of just objective. Because I fell in love with the sport back in the sports agency days, right? So I'm always kind of like, what's best for the sport? How do we get the sport? Because to me, I've said this for so many years now, F1 has always been a sleeping giant. And obviously since Drive to Survive 2020, like it started to wake up because think of a sport in the world that has the kind of global eyeballs that Formula One does, but doesn't necessarily kind of capitalize on it. You just don't really have it. Yeah,
until the perfect storm.
So my viewpoints generally, and especially because now I don't necessarily have, like there was like you would root for Red Bull because you worked for Red Bull, and that's the culture, and that's absolutely 100% correct. But I came into it as a Lewis fan, and I was like, cool, I'm a professional at the end of the day, so it's two separate
all right. So
things.
how many trips to HR did you get in for fighting people?
I think it was like 4 or 5. Like I threw down like a couple of times.
So you must have seen Dan in HR a couple times. Dan's like, is that another spicy tweet?
Yeah,
another spicy tweet.
We used to fist bump as we went past each other, like
Right, lad.
Yeah. Raise the eyebrows. But no, I'm always about just what's best for the sport objectively, and dominance. It could be Red Bull, could be Ferrari, could be Mercedes. I don't really care. I'm not a mess. I don't really like it because it's just kind of like, people are going to start switching off. People are going to lose interest. They all, all of the massive steps we took as a sport and at F1 during 2020, 21, etc. They kind of get undone a little bit when, all people have heard is, 2022 regulations. And don't get me wrong, like, I think they've been taken out of proportion. People kind of thought this is going to be the savior of Formula One, and you're going to have a Williams on the front row, and then the following week Alpha Tauri is going to be racing. Like it's just not that simple.
That was a misconstrued quote from Braun, first of all, and then
he's the nicest man, by the way.
Yeah, he's an absolute towering giant of a bloke as well.
Yes, he is. His office used to be on the other side of my desk at F1, and
that's pretty cool.
I just sense a presence because there used to be a spare desk next to me. And we'd have like all of our team would just buy sweets at like lunchtime and then just dump them on this table and kind of just
right, Ross.
use it as a way to like interact. And anyway, you just kind of have this presence behind. You'd be like, oh,
it's a giant man.
And then he'd just come over and he'd just be like, could I have a digestive biscuit, please? Yes, Ross. Absolutely. For everything you've done for the sport, if that's what I can do for you.
Go on, lad.
Go on, lad. Go on then.
That's
Thank
super
you
cool.
very much.
But like that's funny. So but it's like a lot of people expected this, and it's like also a lot of the Twitter echo chamber of farts and idiots of like this was supposed to save the sport. It's like, no. Like, when's the last time you introduced new regulations and then all of a sudden everybody clumped up together and was equally shit? No. You get it right and you get it wrong, and some people are misplacing the difference in how good teams got it versus so where's your head at now that that Mercedes have been in the mud for a season and looks like they're going to be in the mud for another season. Does it bother you that much, or are you just enjoying the sport?
I'm a Lewis fan. Like, I'm not a Mercedes fan.
Okay,
like
fine.
I, if it comes down to it, like I was
he's
still
one of them.
I'm still kind of going back for Red Bull to an extent. Like,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's maybe with time, but after 21 and 22 and working at Red Bull, like, time heals all wounds.
Yeah,
right now, I'm still, there's still. I remember watching Brazil in 21. That was one of the worst things ever. I can't forgive them for that. How dare you build a rocket ship of a car that allows you to sort of overtake the way that you do?
How dare they?
So it's kind of I don't know. I just wish there was more variety. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, we've had the same race winner. There's not been as much. I don't know. Just the entertainment value hasn't necessarily been there. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh right, I've been so hooked on everything else. It's kind of like, okay, I can't necessarily like pay. I'm not paying as much attention to what's going on at the front. Actually, my focus has gone down into the midfield and what's kind of happening there. What's going on at the back of the pack? Which, don't get me wrong, it's a nice change of pace, but everything, it all boils down to a championship and who are the leaders and what's kind of going on there. So I just want it to kind of tick all the boxes rather than just a couple of them.
Yeah, and I feel like the broadcast, they try, but like we don't really get, there's not many, the stakes just aren't that high for the midfield, or they don't perceive to be that way. And it's like, we're just like, oh, the front Max's run off, or Checo's run off, or the Astons are looking really strong, the Ferraris are abysmal, but it's just kind of like, it's a little bit predictable. And I get that.
Yeah, that's a good word. That's a good word.
And I get what you're saying. It's like, I feel like it sucks for me as well, because like once the season kind of wraps up, people do tend to check out, and you do sense that in terms of viewership and content engagement and people wanting to talk about stuff. And then Twitter just turns into a cesspit, and I turn that off for about a month, and then we come back and they're still talking about the same thing. So it's like, right. But yeah.
Well, look, you two can think all you want. Listen, I'm going to appeal to the other half of our listeners
Go on,
say,
get in there.
Long may the Max Verstappen domination continue.
Yeah, exactly. But I think,
I'll give you that. I don't mind Max winning. Like, I don't want people to kind of be like, he's wearing a Mercedes hat and he's complaining.
No. Listen, this is it.
Max is sound. So like, I say this to people. Like,
we're gonna cut this out of context, and they're gonna pile on you on the internet, bro. Well, that's what we're gonna do. Get our guests on, and then frame everything out of context, and get Twitter to absolutely roast you. Yeah.
It's like when people go like, Max is like the worst human to ever exist, and I'm like, have you met him? Because
no, you have. They have met him.
Yeah,
they all have met him.
Yeah,
on TV. It's like he said something, and it was really blunt and direct, and it doesn't appeal to my British politeness. It's like,
yeah, it's got nothing to do with like Dutch culture or anything, is it?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah,
dude. All he wants to do is talk about his cats. That's all he wants to talk about. That's all I talked to him for like 10 minutes when we're doing like our photo shoot.
I was going to a go-karting event once. And where was I think I was at Barcelona testing or whatever, and I said, "Oh, Max, I'm going to this go-karting event. Like when I get back home, there's a joke, sort of like, what hints and tips have you got?" And he was just like, looked at me and went, "Lose weight, Dan." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, Max."
Yeah.
And that's just like the Dutch thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cheers, pal.
It's free performance, man. But I remember the first, like, we'll talk about it later, maybe, or another episode, but like the first simulator session he was in at Red Bull, like, how old was he when he joined the first year? I don't fucking remember.
12?
19? 18, 19? Because he started when he was 16. He was 18 or 19. And it's like, he's like, yeah, I just got a new scooter and like I'm getting it tuned up and tricked out. And here's all the pictures. He's a
kid, man. He's literally a kid. Like.
Yeah, he's just a fucking dude. But honestly, yeah. But yeah. So let's. Expectations for the season. Is Merc? Do you? And this is Vibes hat on. Perfect. 100% Vibes hat.
Literally a Vibes hat, right?
Vibes hat right now. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Mercedes are going to close the gap this year?
I think if you kind of said, given this scenario, who on the grid, which team is best placed and kind of has the sort of capital built up to do something like that, it's Mercedes. I think they've got the infrastructure. I think they've got the.
How much are they paying you? How much are they paying you, Jake?
about the same as if I promoted like any VPN service. So not that much.
Okay. Speaking
Wow,
of,
yeah, that's not much then at all, mate.
It's not.
Let's
No.
get a GoFundMe going for.
we're definitely not
Tiny
rolling.
violin.
We're not
Tiny
rolling
violin.
ads on this episode, by the way, guys.
No, I think it's definitely possible. If you've got, like, from Mercedes' point of view, if you've got Aston Martin using your engine and obviously getting success from that, you've got the same basis, really. You've almost got a blueprint of how to probably do things.
You just can't see that blueprint.
You just but it's kind of there, I'm not convinced. I don't think anyone was really convinced by the no side pods thing initially. Well, actually, that's a lie, because everyone saw
I know a guy.
no side pods and went, "Oh my god!"
I know a
amazing.
guy. I know a guy that thought it was amazing.
The most innovative thing ever seen. Yeah, I don't know who that is though.
Me neither.
No.
Dan, do you know?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Was it you? It was you.
Are you blocked?
Listen, my F1 aero knowledge is probably about the same as my nan's. To be honest, when it comes to aero, I'm shit.
Me too. Me too.
I've got a giant fucking beard on my face. Like, what do I know about aerodynamics?
Yeah, nothing. Not, mate. Let's change gears. What, like, obviously, everybody talks like, oh, you got to work in Formula One. Dan, Jake, Blake, you guys work Formula One. It's the dream. It's the dream job. What were some of the highs? What were some of, like, the really, like, the great moments that you remember? Dan, you're gonna have to go first. What was, like, one of those moments you're like, mate, this is pretty fucking cool?
Round about the summer of 2021, I think, where I thought we could win this. Like, there was that sort of sense of trepidation, like, this could be on. This could be on. Because I joined in sort of the end of 2015, 2016, so I never saw any of the original championships.
No.
So it would have been my first championship. And I was like, this could be on. This is exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was probably the highest point for me, was it? I think, yeah, probably. I reckon that was when I was probably the happiest.
Not the championship itself, but the prospect that it was actually on, and like that level of hype that was building up and the tension.
I mean, the highest point was absolutely winning the championship, but if I say that, then I get slandered on Twitter for celebrating a fake win and all that. So
clip it, fraud. But, like, come on, it's completely on brand. It's completely on brand.
Yeah, well, at least someone from Stevenage got to hold the championship trophy in 2021.
Do you reckon Crofty held it as well? At any point?
I don't think he did. Yeah.
Jake, if you're on audio, if you're on the audio, Jake's just taking his hat off and he's gone back to his socks.
Because it's got no relevance to what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Swapped out. And
There we go.
Jake's back in the
to
socks
that.
hat. But what about you? Like a high point?
High point. I don't. It was probably being able to, because I was wearing the lovely shirt that Dan is wearing. I was wearing it in a pub under another t-shirt.
Okay, the swampy t-shirt under another t-shirt.
The muggy t-shirt. Yeah, that was during that race that year that happened. That thing that we don't tend to talk about. And I was in a pub in Soho, I think it was, to watch it, and I was surrounded.
The finale.
Yeah, because we booked Winter. I double booked Winter Wonderland, so obviously I had to have my priorities in order. So we weren't a million miles away from getting to Hyde Park to go to it, but yeah, I had the white Honda Special Edition T-shirt on under another T-shirt just in case it didn't pan out. Because it was an Irish pub that was like just pure Mercedes country. And anyway, the amount and obviously at that time as well, like you had all this attention on it from people that don't necessarily vibe with F1 throughout the year. So it was like going to a football match, but like I'm the away support, and I've got to kind of pretend that I'm the home support.
Yeah,
and just
it's
kind of
going to get a bit
in.
rowdy.
Yeah. So obviously, like, it's, you know, the race starts and it's pretty rowdy and England, and then the race kind of gets a bit, you know, it dies off. It's a bit boring or whatever.
I think the race
obviously
is back
starts ramping
on.
back up. Exactly.
Checo blocking.
Yeah, and then there was this German. I think she was German. She was wearing like the Aston Martin shirt. She was sat right in the front, because I thought, like, that's very brave. I'm not that brave, because remember Dan said marketing is cowardly. It's true.
Yep.
And she obviously, like, she loses her mind and she's going crazy, and I'm just like, cool, with the shirt off. It was a joke. Yeah, like, so it was pretty cool. That was a pretty euphoric moment. Got on the tube, walked out of there, and went to Winter Wonderland. Had the greatest time.
Did it phase you at the time how controversial that was going to become? Not to say right, wrong, the other, but like, did that phase you at that time? Because I didn't. I'm sat there. I was watching that race with probably 20 people from my stream community in Discord, and we were all watching it, talking about it. And you know, like, there was Mercedes fans, there's Ferrari fans, and you know, a lot of my friends are Dutch and Max fans as well. But it was super emotional because you know,
it was.
I had just checked out at the end of that last race, and that was the end of my term. Like, I didn't get to pick when my last day was, and I was like, I want to do something else. Like, cool, well, your last day is here. So I got to enjoy the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix from home, and like, I knew it was a little bit of a shit fight going on, but I didn't realize, you know, like, the severity and the context of what happened, you know, because I was like, you know, because it's super,
neither did I, because we couldn't hear in the pub, so like the commentary, like, would kind of be there, then it wouldn't be there, and obviously people making noise, so it was just kind of like, something's happening.
Yeah,
but it would have been the same thing, and especially because I've tried to explain this to people so many times now. But if you kind of put yourself into, I joined Red Bull just after Baku and Max kicking the tire, because when I did my interview, I was walked around the factory and the car had just come back and was in bits, and you know, I was like kind of losing my mind because the car was right there and I was physically touching it. And then getting told, you know, careful, carbon has like splinters and they're really hard and painful to get out.
That's quite funny, because my interview, when I was there, it was Danny Kvyat's 2015 Japanese Grand Prix chassis that he shunted and rolled it in free practice, I think it was, wasn't it? And it
maybe
was
it's like a trend.
Yeah,
maybe that's when they put interviews
in.
Maybe they put interviews in there.
Did I tell you what I did? Like, because that was a pretty scary crash, and as soon as he was back from the medical center and he was like all clear, like everything was totally fine, they're going to rebuild the spare, I found an old image from Star Fox of the rabbit Pippi, and he's like, do a barrel roll. So I just photoshopped it on top of Danny's car doing a barrel roll. Oh.
But like, coming after my job.
But this, yeah, exactly. It was not very good. I'm gonna see if I can find it off somebody email it to me off my old laptop on the drive. But like, that was like only after he was back in the office, totally unharmed. But I was like, that's scary. Nobody bids it there either. That was a weird one. Don't set that grass on the turn in on those tracks. It's dangerous. I remember DeResta did Spoon 1 tire off in the gravel, and like over the weekend, people keep setting the tire off right there at the turn in and just start digging out a rut, and at some point you get caught out. But anyway, I've gone way off track.
Just off on that subject, all the stuff that's been happening with IndyCar with that curb.
Yeah, it's like, hey guys, surprise!
It's like Mario, and they put a ramp in or something. I was like, what? Mad. What was that?
So I was
saying, the vibes, man. Like, you know, so I've been there, and I think collectively, obviously I've got no personal buy-in to Red Bull at that point necessarily. Yep. Like, Red Bull was actually my team prior to that anyway, but it wasn't, you know, I'm the new guy.
Yeah.
And so to kind of see how people were reacting to how that season was going, just because like, oh, like there's a shot, there's a shot, and like that was getting more and more and more, and then, you know, Silverstone happened and everything else, and you get sucked into that. That's the culture of the team, you would know.
Yeah, I like, until last year though, I avoided Twitter. Like when I was at the track and everything was going on, and like I didn't use Twitter, and I avoided like so much damage to my brain from not being on Twitter for that while. Now, you know, obviously now F1 Twitter is much bigger, but it's like, if anybody's, you know, you wake up and you're not feeling great and you just get out of bed and you check F1 Twitter first thing, don't. Yeah, just don't. Like real life is, and it's one of those things. It's like, Did you have a photo of the graphic designer at Mercedes on your desk, and you're like, I'm gonna
I
destroy
had
them?
it tattooed at one point because obviously, like,
where?
I would just like I had it tattooed on my arm so that I could
let's-
like punch it.
Yeah, I hate tattoo.
Oh my god, yeah. If anybody on audio, Jake doesn't have any tattoos on that
No, I
arm.
don't have any tattoos. No,
Yeah.
no. Do you know what was really funny was that actually that year, like, I became like very good friends with one of the Mercedes graphic designers, and it was just kind of comical.
And you guys like, wow, this is a shit fight.
So the amount of times where people would be like, "Oh, they must hate each other between the two." It's not that deep, bro. Like,
No, it's not.
It's a job.
No, not at all.
It's work. Like, it's not that deep. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to be able to kind of differentiate between the two.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's one of the things, like being inside the industry, and then you see the reactions of people on the internet. It's like,
Yeah.
who the
Like, you're talking on behalf of me, and that's not my opinion.
yeah,
Like,
who the fuck hurt you? Seriously.
yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things, and we're not going to solve that issue right now. We're not going to fix any of that. But so we've got the highs out of the way, and like winning a world championship is awesome. The emotions and the context to that at that time wasn't clear that was going to be such a controversial thing. It was just like, oh, that's a little bit of a weird thing, but like no, it was people.
But the party afterwards, though.
I didn't.
Ooh, that day in the office afterwards.
I missed that.
Mate, that was the best day of work ever.
Yeah, HR
Like, I was
had
sitting
already
there like,
locked my access out by then.
oh, bro. Like, I was sitting there. I remember getting there and kind of going like, I'm getting paid to literally sit there and celebrate. Like, we had Queen, we had the champions playing like max volume, and then we had like the legal team kind of like rushing around, looking quite distressed, and no one cared.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you guys sorted it out. It's for you guys.
Yeah. And like one of the guys had come straight from Abu Dhabi, straight after the race, and he was still covered in the Red Bull that they'd been spraying, which was pretty gnarly. Like, it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's like, mate, go take a shower. We got the gym here.
Dude, it was bad. It was really bad. Yeah, no, that was a great day at work.
I missed that one. But like at the same time, I'm not really into day drinking, so forget that. But what about? All right, let's skip forward a little bit. What about? You know, like people are always saying it's like, oh, it's so great. Well, what about some of the monotonous, the not so glamorous, like?
Can I just give you a low? Forget monotonous.
Yeah,
just
go
one
on.
of the all-time
Yeah,
lows. I need to get it off my chest.
All right, it
It's
sounds. I can see a weight on your shoulders visibly if you're watching.
You can see the pain in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
The pain. Anyway, so the infamous canteen, right? I think it must have been coming up to the Austin Grand Prix, because you know they would do the special, like, would be obviously themed to the race, right? So that week is Austin. So the menu is like pulled pork, it's like sliders. We're eating like kings out here. And one of the sort of accessories to the main dish was like barbecue, like baked beans, it's a staple, right? There we go.
Hell yeah.
It's a staple. Now, I've had barbecue baked. I don't like normal baked beans, but barbecue baked beans, I can vibe with that when they're done properly, and I've had them proper. So I'm like, amazing. This is going to be the creme de la creme on top of, you know, all this other stuff. Go there, and they at the end of the sort of canteen queue is the baked beans, and it's in this big red pot. It's this massive pot of beans. It's help yourself. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to destroy these beans.
No, are these beans going to destroy you, Jake?
No, I'm built different, bro.
Okay.
So anyway, go up to the beans, getting ready to go, and I'm like, what's like sticking out? I'm like, that's cinnamon, and I was like, that's an interesting choice for baked beans, but it kind of makes sense, you know,
cinnamon,
whatever. The molasses. Anyway, so I'm like, right, cool, whatever. But there's like these two massive sticks of cinnamon in it, so I'm like, it's a big pot. It makes sense. It's going to offset. Anyway, sit down. And I've been hyped for like all of this food. Sit down, eat the burger. I'm like, oh, this is lovely. Get to the baked beans. And it was like eating a dessert. Like, it was like eating a Cinnabon. It was just pure cinnamon. And everyone, I think I sat down first because I was Mr. Keen. And then all it was just everyone sitting down around me kind of going, yes, baked beans. And everyone all pulling the same face. Or I could have told them, but no. One of the grossest things ever. Like, just pure cinnamon, but you know you're eating baked beans? Nah.
You know what?
That was the lowest point. Of my career.
Wow. So the lowest point was the reason for the cost cap. Those
Cinnamon
extra,
baked beans.
But
extra
all I'll
cinnamon
say is,
sticks.
if you ever join Red Bull, don't ever eat the barbecue baked beans.
Right. Well, tonight, I'm going to Texas on Tuesday, so you guys won't have me for a week. But I made some pulled pork on the smoker tonight. Did a little pulled pork with a hot vinegar sauce, some corn, some coleslaw on some brioche.
And he didn't
buns.
invite us, Dan. He didn't.
I was
invite us.
actually, honestly, I was thinking, it's like,
No.
you know what we need to do? We do need to get a studio set up somewhere. So it's like, right, why don't we do a thing? We'll shoot this thing in the living room. We'll get some beers going. We'll get some barbecue.
I
sort you
dropped Blake home once. Where did I give you a lift from?
Oh, I thought that was the end of the story.
Yeah, I
No,
dropped
no,
Blake
no.
at home once. Shit.
Can't remember, I
It
could
was
use
coming
your
back.
phone.
It was coming back from Veloce.
I was. Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
dropped Blake off home once, and he was sweating just because I knew the street that he lived in. Let alone going into his house, mate. He was like, "Fucking hell, Dan."
I was like, this is early
Dan
Dan
knows
Blake
where I
days.
live. Fuck.
Yeah, this is probably the second time we met. So yeah, who knows?
That's where we,
Was he wearing a white Honda Special Edition shirt?
No,
it
By
wasn't.
any chance?
No,
It
no,
might have
it
been
wasn't.
that.
It
It might
wasn't.
have been that.
What about you? What about you, Dan? Like, what's the low point?
Oh, any fucking time that somebody came to me at like 3 o'clock in the morning at fucking Barcelona winter testing, because there's no curfew at winter testing.
No,
You can just-
you're all through the night shift,
and they're
day
like,
shift.
"Oh, we need this like part, or we need this system put together within the next 4 hours. You've got zero budget. Sorry, we knew about this back in November. We should have told you then, but you've now got 4 hours to sort it." It's like, for fuck's sake. And every year it's the same. Every fucking year they came like the day before or on testing. They were like, "Oh, this doesn't work." And it's like, "Well, you didn't tell me anything about it." "Oh, everyone knew about it." I was like, "Yeah, apart from me, the person that's
that had
designing
to
it and
execute
fucking
it.
implementing it." You
Mhm,
dickheads.
yeah,
It's like the
yeah.
4th year in a row you've done this now.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
glad that's a problem that's not just exclusive
Had
to
to vent
graphic
that out.
designers.
no, that's one of the things. It's like the people, like when you have big vertical structures, like, and then Red Bull's not particularly vertical, but like when you have systems of people like that, and it's like somebody just doesn't care enough to tell you about that thing that you need to do.
I mean, I will kind of devil's advocate it. I think a lot of it's also being siloed. Like, people get so into like what their team is doing, but there's ramifications always, with other teams, and
Yeah.
so and so's got to do X, Y, Z, and blah blah blah. And where they then don't tell people, but then expect you to somehow have, like, through the force, or I don't know.
Well, you've
just
got
picked up on it.
You've got force sense. You knew that we were doing guarding today, so why didn't you know about that thing that you had to do? Why didn't you use the force to tell Dan about that thing he didn't know that he
I'm a
knew?
late developer, man. I'm a
Yeah,
late
man.
developer.
Okay.
Late developer.
Okay. But like, I think about low points. I don't think I've got any real low points. The only thing that was super stressful is when I decided I didn't want to work in Formula One anymore. And it's like one of those things. It's like the entirety of my professional life has been education, very quickly shifted towards focusing on doing this thing, spend 10, 11 years doing that thing. And then you're like, I want out now. I want to do something else. And it's like a really, like, it's not like it was bad, but it was a very weird, low, and kind of almost helpless feeling. It's like, wow, I'm leaving that thing that I've like uprooted my entire life to go do. So
Yeah, it's always scary, right? Change is scary by definition.
Well, I've just been reminded of my favorite low point. My favorite low point.
I've just read that as well.
My favorite low point was that no, it's not a low point, but my low point joining Red Bull was when I joined to be Sebastian Vettel's performance engineer and get to work with Rocky. And then Vettel went to Ferrari. Rocky was going to be chief engineer, and GP joined me from Force India. And then I was like, fucking hell. But to be fair, that was great. I actually had, I loved working with GP. And if I could go back and work as a performance engineer, I don't want to be a race engineer. I call that the babysitter with a clipboard. But if I could go back and be a performance engineer, I'd love to work with GP again, because it's just fucking easy. And it was fun. And we got along really well. Working with Kvyat was awesome. Like, Danny was a great laugh. Like even to the point of like, hey, it's Christmas time. Do you want to come out to Oxford and we'll all go out for drinks and stuff? And it was me and GP and Michael and our Renault guy. We just had a laugh. It was great times, man. And it's like everything got a little bit more serious after that, and you didn't really have time to do that. But that was good times. And yeah, we'll have to get Danny on sometime. I'm sure Danny would come join us.
That would be sick. That would be sick, actually.
Nasty Danny, DK. But we got the lows. But like, what about just the realities? I guess never mind the lows, but the realities of work. It's like every job sounds super cool, but every job has a slog and a grind, and there's stuff that's not particularly glamorous. That's your job. You know, like we talk, we always hype up the great shit. But I guess just maybe is in short, I don't know if Dan or Jake, you've got anything to add, but like in short, it's like be mindful that all jobs have the highs and lows, and the ability to stay focused through the stuff that feels like the grind is yeah, and that'll separate. And like you said, like Jake, your realization, like going back to finance and stuff, you're like, man, fuck a spreadsheet. I'm not about that life. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, because I think a lot of people see kind of end product, and they'll see like something that I put on social media, but they don't know that I've also, like, 10 minutes prior to that got asked to make like toilet door signs or something.
Yeah, or a corporate deck for something really boring.
Yeah, like those things are. I remember I interviewed a cruise line like years ago to do graphic design, and I was kind of like, what's the job then? And it was just making their brochure all the time. Like, so I was like, okay, cool. So when you finish the brochure, what do you do? And they're like, make the next brochure. And I was like, nah, like I'm out. Like I need the variety, because if you don't have like if everything was just amazing, you'd take it for granted. And likewise, if everything was bad, obviously you would leave. But if you've got the mix in there, you appreciate it when the social team turn around and go, "We need like a sick edit, rah."
Yeah, it's like that.
I'll get on that now.
That's the icing on the cake, isn't it?
Exactly. But that's what people think.
And stuff. Did you play any part in this?
No, I didn't. No, that was prior to it. No, that was.
Okay. I just sitting here realizing I've got a poster on my wall from.
No, because that was. Yeah, that was the 70th
anniversary. Yeah,
I think I got given one when I first started as a surplus poster.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, pretty much. They printed off like 15,000 and gave out 200.
I've got a stack of about 5 Monaco 21 posters with Max sitting on the T-cam.
On the thing. Yeah.
I did get one of them signed, and it's hanging up under my key light there, so I'm pretty chuffed about that one.
No, I've only got him to sign the mini helmets. I think.
You got him to sign your Lewis helmet? You got him to sign your Hamilton hat?
I was tempted. I was going to see if I could like unscrew the visor and then put it on the Lewis one, and then post a picture and just kind of no caption and just
the internet down.
Cursed. Oh my god!
I bet HR signed it though, didn't they? I bet they'd have signed it.
No,
that joke was so funny. Why don't you come tell us in person, Jake or Dan?
Say it to my face. No, there was none of that. The only time I ever actually got called to HR was because I bought the camera that I'm actually using now. I bought one off eBay, and the guy got unhinged when I returned it because he sold me a broken camera. And he saw, like, I got it sent to the office.
I sent everything to the office.
Racing. Exactly right. So I get this camera sent to the office. Then open the claim and go, bro, the camera doesn't work. Like, you've sold me a faulty thing. He sends me like a 6-page essay dossier on why, like, I'm the worst person alive and that it does work. And I'm like, factually, I can make you a video and show you it doesn't work. Anyway, eBay side with me. I return it. Dude went mental, rang up HR. This is an external person who may or may not be the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago bobsleigh team. Rings up HR. HR obviously get half the story and they don't know. And he's gone like, my dad is he's been in the paddock club with Red Bull. He's like a friend of the brand, and one of your like employees is, committing fraud because he's returned this camera. And
on brand.
Exactly.
Welcome.
Fraud. Anyway, HR called me up to the HR office, and they're like, they had like an itemized sheet of all of the allegations against me that this guy had written, and I'm like, is this a joke? They're like, yeah, obviously, this is quite serious. I'm like, but it's not serious? This is my eBay that return. Anyway, I went through. I showed them all the messages from me because he sent really abusive ones and everything else, and I was very polite back because I just wanted my money back.
Yeah.
And the guy, it got to the point where he'd actually written at the bottom of this email, "I'm going to send you a signed autograph because my guy went to the Olympics and came like 32nd out of 32nd, I think it was. So he's all-time great at bobsleigh, and he." Then, I get a email from the post room, just a couple of days later, you've got some more post. I'm like, I haven't ordered anything. Go down there, it's like a little jiffy bag. And I'm like, what is this? Open it. He'd signed a 2x whatever it was, sized picture of himself going, next time I hope you choke on it or whatever, and signed it. I was like, what? This is the most craziest thing.
Did you frame
it?
And then
obviously HR thought I'm some utter nut job.
You are.
That's been ordering weird stuff and I communicate with freaks. Anyway, I put that up as a nice little display on my desk, and obviously I'd have people come over and go "Oh, Jake, I didn't know you like bobsleigh." I'm like,
I don't. This dude's a
I watched Cool Runnings, bro.
Do you still have it?
No, I think I put it in the bin on my last day. Actually,
you're a fucking sellout,
I remember
bro.
seeing it on your desk as I walked past, and then because I've read the story about it or whatever on Twitter, and I was just like, fucking, the joys of working in Formula One.
Oh,
that might have been the highest high for me at Red Bull, actually.
That's pretty sick, actually.
Yeah.
That's fucking dope.
That was the most bizarre interaction I've had with a human being, aside from being called Judas by Jesus with a beretta on Twitter.
You're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead, you traitor.
Wild.
Well, considering Twitter's usually a cesspit of shit, we do have a couple of pretty interesting questions. Dan, you want to help us out with the what do we got? What do we get from Twitter today? There's a couple good ones in there.
Yeah. So Disdain AK asks, how quick did it take to do delivery each year, considering its minor changes for Red Bull?
Control C, Control V. Pretty
copy
pretty
pasta.
good. Yeah, pretty much. No, I didn't have anything to do with that.
But realistically, a lot of the delivery stuff is not. It's somebody else.
How much interaction did you guys have with Paint Shop?
I walked past it.
Yeah, I saw the booths downstairs at the bottom, but those guys. I don't want to talk about it too much, but pretty much the paint shop and stuff went into it. And look at the Red Bull design. It's not like it's a sponsor. It is the brand. And that image is the brand. So people are like, oh, it's the same livery again. It's it's the same company. Nothing's changed.
Who is complaining? Because even McLaren, what was it, yesterday, the day before, kind of showed all of their various other cars, in all the other series that they're doing. And one of them, they've even captioned it as this is the most iconic livery of all. Name the most iconic livery of all time. And they've replicated the MP4. The Senna years, the Prost years, they've put that on another car. And there's the brand recognition. People look at that and they know exactly where that's come from and what it's talking about.
Exactly.
And that's the point. It's the exact same premise.
It's
why would you change it?
And you know what it is. And people are it's the same thing. It's no kidding.
It doesn't benefit them to change it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, exactly.
I just want to shout out the paint shop as well for successfully managing to spoil the Aston Martin title sponsorship by leaving the rear wing end plate outside the booth fully painted with Aston Martin written on it. And we were like, oh, okay, that deal's gone through then, has it? Okay.
But that's one of those things, you hear stuff. Here's how you find out stuff at Red Bull. On Autosport, or you see something branded up outside of the paint shop. And obviously, you don't tell anybody. You don't go online. And Dan, you didn't tweet anything out before it happened, did you?
No, my Twitter wasn't about. Yeah, no, my Twitter wasn't about spoiling things. Mine was about starting fights with fans of different teams and getting in trouble for it.
Exactly. Okay, fair enough. We're gonna have to go into some of the best HR moments with Dan for an episode, I think. Maybe
that's a recurring thing, surely.
Yeah, I think we'll have to. But what? Yeah,
it'll be in my book.
What's next? What do we got next from Twitter for Jake?
Is there a ton of Well Built asks, is there a ton of focus grouping for stuff, or does corporate let you have freedom over design? Yeah.
Did we already answer that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, people don't so obviously Red Bull Racing is owned by Red Bull GmbH, isn't it? I don't know which way around that is yet. So
there's 4 letters in it.
Yeah, and it begins with G, and I can never remember which way around the others are. It depends entirely on what the thing is, I would say. Like if we, let's say that we were going to like change a livery or something, then that's going to have to go up to sort of Austria, and then the Austrians are going to have to then decide whether or not they're happy with it and if it complies and yada yada yada. It just depends. Like they're not going to come to me, you know, like my toilet door signs. They don't care, but something where it's substantial, you know, whether it's like making another sweaty Puma t-shirt, if it's
thank you,
you know, anything outward facing or stuff like that, then obviously then it's going to be a case of get them involved, and they're going to have to sort of approve it or say no. And a lot of the time, as in most places, it's a no. That's not specific to Red Bull. That's
they just quite anal about things.
Yeah, it just depends on like what the thing is. Like because you could get really like obscure things that people get really really picky about. Like I don't know, the color of the sun and balls.
But there's Pantones for that. Like it is this color, this color.
Exactly, and there should be like
brand guidelines.
People being picky about it, and again, that's what I think a lot of people kind of don't realize. Like you do have, you know, it's like going bowling, and you've got the sort of little barriers up to stop you from going into like the gutter, like no gutter balls. Like it's just to kind of keep you in line, but there are rules. Like you can't just start like throwing that bowling ball into other lanes. Like someone's going to punch you, someone's going to spark you out. So like, you know, within reason, you've got to be able to justify why you're making that change.
Yeah, fair
enough. I remember, I think it was Dietrich that got quite the ump with back when it was the Infinity sponsorship, because the Infinity purple was taking too much up at the side pod. I remember that.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff you would hear about, and it would like, or we would come up with like say like a Miami special edition shirt. Like what color is it? Well, we're going to make the whole thing pink. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's no. Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of, you know, like you want to be able to push things, but at the same time, you know, someone's going to kind of go, no.
Yeah.
Wind your neck in, lad.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't do that. So boring, isn't it? But at the same time, there's a reason for that.
I think the next question we've probably already answered, but Exilia asks, what was the wackiest request you received during your time at RB?
Wackiest?
I mean, toilet door signs is probably up there.
That's not wacky though. That's kind of like, you know,
boring.
Dull.
Yeah, like it's bread and butter work. That's the type of stuff. It'd be like photoshopping people onto other people. I've had that a lot. Yeah. Without incriminating too many people, but you know already what I'm talking about. So
I have no idea.
That's for the Patreon. That's for the Patreon.
Yeah, exactly right. Check out the Buy Me a Coffee. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Steve Nieces asks, what's the best F1 party you went to?
Probably the summer one when I saw you.
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. That was good.
That was a very good one.
It was stinking hot. Did you go to that one, Dan?
Yeah, after you left, isn't it?
Time to expose myself as a fraud.
Go on.
I never went to any of the summer parties.
I only went to one. That one.
Did I go to another one?
Wasn't. I lived too far away from the factory. I weren't down for it.
Yeah.
I did a couple of Christmas parties.
Yeah.
Listen, I've lived with my children. Why would I want to, make anyone else suffer them?
Fair enough. I'm sure they're great.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic.
So summer party summer parties are also quite calm. Like it's like an afternoon thing. People got their kids. There's bouncy castles, all sorts of crap. And food.
We had Christian walking around as well. Don't forget that. Christian and Jerry were just. I got a photo with them. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. One of the girls in marketing. She was she's an intern, so she just had like no fear.
She's like, go on, get in there.
She was just like, let's get a photo. So I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Hi.
Right, you're fired. Jake, I need to see you talk to Christian without his permission. You're fired. Adios, muchachos. Exposed.
Pretty much.
Exposed. What else we got from Twitter?
Oh, I like this question. Did you put any like Easter eggs in any of your designs?
There was like probably about like half a Mercedes in the last graphic that I did.
I fucking knew it.
But if you, I think I did a breakdown of it, so it's kind of rare. I think someone else pointed it out, and I was like, I'm not hiding.
Yeah,
like,
it's like literally.
Yeah, like I mean, it's kind of what like you have to do it as part of like when I'm making an edit anyway. Like might see like a bit of road that's the right perspective, the right kind of I don't know lighting on it or whatever it is, and it's under a Ferrari, so you just get rid of the Ferrari and it's just a bit of road. But in that case, I left half the Mercedes in, and it's just kind of like there
Filler.
Yeah.
Sad. All right, you're exposed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot more controlled than me. If I was doing it, I'd be trying to put phallic objects into every fucking single poster.
There's number 44 watermarked into everything.
You've heard of Banksy. They would call me Wanksy.
Dan's Photoshop's not half bad sometimes, though.
Yeah, I think sometimes they're all right.
Considering I do it from my phone when I'm like sometimes holding a child,
Yeah.
Multi-talented.
Yeah.
Multi-21.
Children are screaming in the background. Not now. Daddy's got to make a meme. That's not true before anyone reports me.
Exactly.
It's okay.
No.
Right. What?
Let them do it instead.
What about we got last one. Nobody went too far off. Nobody went too far off on these questions. I looked through them. There was one stupid one. I disregarded it, but most of them were pretty sane and good questions. Laura Leslie F1 asks, "How was the canteen food?" And this is kind of a bit of a piss take. I see you, Laura. But how was it?
Was
it expensive?
Don't get the barbecue beans.
Okay,
don't get the cinnamon beans.
Yeah.
Mate. Don't get the barbecue beans. Don't get the. What else was there? The problem I did find with the food was like visually it looked great.
Yeah.
But I think taste-wise, it just like it was a bit.
You know what?
Like there's a lot of salt.
You weren't there for the old canteen, man. That was a game. The new canteen was a game changer. The
Fucking hell, man. The old canteen.
But the old canteen was like I don't know, a couple of my offices bolted together, and you had 500 people going in and out of that place, and now they've
Was that where you got the tea from? Because I heard all the sort of tales of marketing having to go across the road.
No, it was the normal coffee bar in Building 1.
The old canteen is where the IT infrastructure office was.
Oh, okay.
It was like that big long corridor sort of office. That was.
Oh, split. If you guys see the Powertrains canteen, your heads would just you'd go.
Is it like so much better? Is it?
Dude, there's sofas in there.
Oh my god! All right, enough of that. Enough of the canteen.
We used to go over there. Like we switched it up, so we would go. We just before I left, we would go over to Powertrains to go for food. Although, don't ever get the battered sausage, which you can take that as a euphemism if you want. Don't take the battered sausage. The battered sausage was like it would taste amazing, but
then you'd die afterwards.
It would rip everything out on the way out.
All right,
it was atrocious.
There you go,
Laura.
Laura.
Into the toilet 2 hours later, all of the cubicles would be all locked.
Yeah. Wow. And the toilets. The cubicles were shit. All you had to do was so much as sneeze next to a toilet and you'd block it.
Or the door would open.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we're gonna get way too deep and go.
Yeah, sorry.
But that's usually my job. Dan's meatball trauma is coming up next. Last week Dan was ill and almost missed the podcast because he had some dodgy corner off-license meatballs. But
I bought some corner shop meatballs. Never again.
We've we're gonna get you involved in one of our normal segments. Are you here for it, bro?
Let's do it.
Well, let's just do this one. Fraud Watch. We've got a new one for later for that. But who are you putting? I explained to you what Fraud Watch is. It's you put a team, a driver, an organization, a circuit, your local busher. You put them on the Fraud Watch for this season so far. Jake, who are you putting on Fraud Watch? Have you thought about this?
Kind of.
Who you put on Fraud Watch? Do it. Put them on blast.
Put them on blast. No, because
do it.
It's not.
Do it now.
No. I think because fraud is a strong word in certain respects.
This is respectfully disrespectful.
Respectfully disrespect. I'm kind of debating putting Sergio on it.
What?
Mm.
Oh,
Unreal.
All right, I gotta go. Chat. Right, go on.
Oh, no.
I'm joking.
Oh,
I'm joking. I don't know. I mean, because as you said, like everything. I mean, I might just put the season on Fraud Watch because, as you said, like it's predictable as hell. Like we're not getting much variance from sort of. There's no surprises necessarily. We've not had kind of been like what. I mean look, let me preface that. Aston Martin is the surprise. So I will absolutely give them their due. But I don't know. I mean, fraud of the season, or maybe I'd even put Ferrari on there to an extent because I kind of think the drop off has been pretty severe. Although I did kind of, I basically came into this year. My predictions were Red Bull sweep championships, both of them done, dusted. I did think Ferrari would drop off the pace, swapping out principles. Yeah, because obviously you've got to allow for time to adjust, understand the workings,
and it's not like they were going to fix anything that was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I also just think the way the structure is kind of in Ferrari, clearly it doesn't work. But Ferrari of all the teams are probably the most rigid when it comes to sort of changing and adapting to 2023, and stop talking about I don't know when Schumacher was driving. So actually, I've flip-flopped from the season to Ferrari. Like I think Ferrari are not punching anywhere near their weight, and given how good their car was at the beginning of last year, and
they've gone like, oh my god, they've gone full backwards.
Yeah, they've hit reverse. They're in reverse gear now.
You know what, Ferrari? If that's the fourth strike for Ferrari, I think they're on like Jake's just giving them their fourth strike. But
yeah, I think they were already on. Fraud Watch, I think, weren't they?
Yeah, they've been on Fraud Watch for like 10 years.
Yeah. Give them a little.
Yeah, exactly. We're back for all of you haters that hated that. It's back. The air horn now.
One episode only. One use per episode.
Yeah.
I think that was warranted. It was warranted.
But let's go to the next one then.
Oh, who's a good boy?
I am. I'm a good boy.
Who is your engine mode good boy of the season then?
Then you have to give it to Aston Martin, don't you?
Kind of.
I think they've just kind of won that on default.
Yeah.
I mean,
the surprise factor on that.
Yeah, I mean, but like when I worked at Red Bull, they were almost kind of like the younger brother that was really trying and really wasn't doing anything. It was kind of like they were just a joke, and no one really took them seriously. And fair play, like. Yeah, to kind of come in and it's taken a bit of time and now they're sort of reaping the benefits from it. I mean, you see it in sport all the time. Successful businessman comes in and maybe he buys a football club and absolutely tanks it because just thinks, if I keep throwing money at it without having the infrastructure, it won't work. But I think they've pulled it off.
But it seems like they were doing that in the past, though, because you look at last year, it's like throwing money at it, infrastructure, and doing nothing with it. And then it's like, oh, they've hit hard now. Fuck yeah, man! Yeah. I'll give him a good boy. Why don't we've got a new segment this week, and we kind of teased a little bit, and the guy that's Michael Kist, who's done our all of our sound intros, has done another absolute banger. You guys ready for this one?
Yep. You got it, or have I got it?
I've got it. I've got it.
Okay, go on then.
F1's wackiest rumors, theories, and conspiracies. On this episode of the Fraud Files.
There was quite a that hit me in the soul when he hit Fraud Files.
Yeah, he fucking put his back into that.
He went off.
Go on, Michael. The Fraud Files.
Pick yourself up, Michael.
That's money well spent.
I've got a question for you, Dan. Fraud Files. Are Ferrari Santander's puppets?
Wow. Maybe this is it. This is the new wild conspiracy theory that's currently doing the rounds on the internet. So let me walk you through it.
Ooh, go on.
Please do.
So Lepo, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. Lepo Elkan, brother of Ferrari president John Elkan, had like a rant on Twitter, right? And it's now deleted. So in this,
I've never deleted a tweet ever.
No, never. I fucking.
They're cooking me, bro.
Listen, some of us stand by our shit tweets, right? And we just ride it out and go down with it.
Will we ever see you do like an apology, like YouTube video where it's like,
No.
or just like the Notes app tweet where it's
No.
like, you know what, I've
think I've
really
done
thought
one-
about my actions.
I think I did one once maybe. Anyway, and it was justified. So I'll get.
Oh,
we
fair
all
enough.
make mistakes.
Yeah, we do.
Oh yeah, no, we do.
But what about Mr. Elkin? What has he
Sorry,
done?
yeah. He hasn't made a mistake in his eyes. He's gone full out and said Ferrari needs love, seriousness, and winning team in the pits and outside. It's time to wake up. Enough with politics and games like this. We will never win. So yeah, that was pretty wild.
Okay.
And then someone made a comment about Santander. Oh no, sorry. The picture he posted up with this was with him standing in like Ferrari's version of the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
In the
So
red
it's got all
suit.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
saw
all
that,
the cars in the background, and he's highlighted every single Santander logo on all of the cars in the background. It's just like, all right, why has he highlighted the Santander logo on all the cars? So, someone asked him, and he went, "Santander for me, terrible bank." And then that was it. This was enough, right? This was enough. And then someone replied to him saying, "The truth is that in the eyes of us fans, the presidency is absent. I have never read a press release, a letter, or something from the president or other delegates. Ferrari need passionate people like you and many other people like you." And he just replied, "I know, unfortunately." So this is him like talking about his own fucking brother, who's the president of Ferrari. And so this kicked off.
Is he putting his brother on blast?
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah.
I thought that he was like, "Oh, big brother, let's get this." No, but he's literally.
No, he's like, Ferrari's leadership is absent. You know, what the fuck are they doing? They're never going to win.
Okay,
It sounds like Michael's story behavior.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's not that far off, is it?
Yeah, I don't know if there's bad blood between them or what.
Or he's just really passionate about banking.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he loves them fucking spreadsheets.
But what else? It's gone.
Well, this has fueled the idea, right? The idea was already been floating about like years ago that Santander apparently were exerting major influence behind the scenes back in 2009 to get Kimi out of Ferrari and Alonso in. And now the insinuation is that they're messing around with Ferrari again in the background for Sainz's benefit.
So extrapolating from that,
hence why they're on the downward spiral.
but like, is that in like all the? I don't know. Has Leclerc like been unlucky, or what are they presumed to be meddling with? Like, what's the?
There is actually quite a well researched article and well sourced, which is the first for us, like fucking referencing it. I haven't had the chance to read it all though, because that's how in depth it is, which goes through the Kimi, like his last year at Ferrari and Alonso years and things like that. So forgive me, I can't really talk about it because I haven't read it all yet. But it is actually, like I say, it's well researched, well sourced. So I'll give them credit for that. Maybe I'll stick it in the show notes, and for homework, people can go read it and send some book reports in for the fraud files and let me know what they think. But,
Ooh, that'll be good.
Yeah, that seems to be the hot topic at the moment.
That's weird. That is weird. But like, would it surprise you?
What, Ferrari getting pushed around by a sponsor? I think it would.
Yeah.
Ferrari don't. They seem to me, the perception I get is they would be the pushers, not the pushies.
Yeah, it's like it's, can you guys do better or no more money? But like simple. Like I don't. How can like Ferrari in and of itself has so much momentum and energy and history. So we'll just get another fucking sponsor. Screw you guys. It's kind of the mentality. Go back to their car launch. All the other teams are gassing up. Oh, our new sponsor, this and that. And Ferrari, like, nope, we're fucking Ferrari. Here's the new car, and we're gonna drive it on the track today. Boom. No mention of a single sponsor. Yeah, it's just like that's it.
Because I think with Ferrari, they're like, we're the prize. you're not the prize.
Yeah, exactly.
To like from a commercial point of view, like they don't care. Like I when I was doing stuff for the sports agency, I was doing stuff for Ferrari as well, and they were like, the reason I'm not a Ferrari fan is because of the dealings I had with them, where they'd be like, no, the Ferrari logo, move it 1 pixel to the right. And you'd send it for like approval, and they were like, no, move it 1 pixel back left. And then you would just keep sending them the same file. You wouldn't change anything, and they'd go, oh, magnificent. And you go, yeah, no worries. So like, exactly.
Like,
so I don't think that's the way.
The red is 1 Pantone digit off or something, you know. So.
Oh yeah. Even though it's actually exactly the right thing, and they asked me like 2 hours ago to use a different one. So yeah.
That color is white. It's 6 Fs. It's correct. It's the correct color, you jokers. Why don't we? I think that's what we got for the episode. Jake, where can people find you on the internet if they want to?
On the internet.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to drop your postcode. Don't dox yourself here.
No. JP1_design is, I think, most of my handles. Someone asked me if I have Grinder. No, I don't, unfortunately. It turns out it's not great for kind of shilling your graphic design work.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't really care. So,
but hey, if you're listening and you're on it, big yourself up.
Exactly.
There we go.
Yeah, but it's like, would you like to see some graphic designs? Like, no, I'd like to see something else. Like, I'm not sharing those. Thank you.
For you, I give you.
And all those
Grinder homies.
All those Photoshop requests for Grindr are always about making things bigger, not smaller.
Yeah,
so it's the same thing. It's just repetition, so I'm not really interested.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, you can find me pretty easily. JP1 Design, Google that. I tend to come up somewhere somehow.
Awesome.
Join the movement, I guess, or maybe some point I'll write my memoirs.
And if anybody's got any questions, for Jake about the job and the industry, what I will do is if you leave a comment on the YouTube after this episode goes live on YouTube, I will make sure to forward some of those to Jake and see if he's got a couple moments to answer them. A lot of them will probably be quite similar, so I'll go through them and give him an assortment of a handful of them at max, so we've already taken up enough of his sweet time on this beautiful Sunday evening. It is now 9 p.m. near the UK time.
GMT.
Yeah, no, BST, bro.
Oh shoot, yeah, BST.
BST. It's summertime, but dude, Jake,
calling
seriously,
it soccer, not getting the right time zone.
Yeah, come on.
Sake.
Does any other country change the name of their time zone for daylight savings time? I don't think so.
Listen,
That's
I will not have you.
For another episode.
I'm not going to have you slander our feudal calendar system for crop rotation. All right,
it's dog shit.
I went to Greenwich at the weekend just to make peace with the Greenwich Meridian time as well. I stood on the line. It was great. I suggest you do that too.
I might do. Here's what we're gonna do.
I don't leave the house.
I don't either. I haven't left my house. Like, it's been super weird. I went for a walk yesterday. I touched grass. It was bizarre.
I just sit at home wearing these really hot swampy shirts.
Garden
in my spare room, yelling at teenagers on the internet.
Get out of here! You're mid. So here's what we're gonna do. Next week, I'm taking a trip home back to Texas. I'm gonna go through. Probably I might do a stream where I go through all the macro beers. We're gonna get some Coors Light, some Miller Lite, some Pabst Blue Ribbon, Miller Genuine Draft, Miller High Life, Bud Heavy, and we're gonna go through all the macro beers on stream and see how long it takes me to get banned, and do some tasting notes, because I enjoy crap American beer as much as I like expensive
Coors Light, man. Coors Light.
I had some Coors Heavy the other day, and honestly, little Euro Truck Simulator and a Coors.
You got the hat on for it right now as well.
Tell you what, brother.
Yeah.
Tell you what, brother. Huge. So I might do some of that back at home. Dan, you do any streaming this week?
Maybe. You know me. I don't like to reveal my schedule because
you don't have one.
Fucking struggle to keep one. So,
but I think
Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
If anybody missed it, we did a stream. Dan and I did a stream earlier this week or last week where we played F122 career mode. It was fucking catastrophic. We were race 3 and we took Red Bull over the cost cap with crash damage in chassis and front wings alone. We're gonna have another revised version of that, and I think we might hit it pretty hard when F123 comes out, which is in the next month or two. But
EA, if you're listening, give us some money. Come on,
come bring us out. We'll show you guys what's up. But
just stop doing all these professional fucking e-sports racers. No one gives a shit about that. What they want to see is two middle-aged men who have given up on life badly play F1 2023. Right?
I was at the F122 launch. I got knocked out immediately. I was absolutely
you were shit then. You're shit now.
Exactly. But anyway, we're gonna take we'll do a preview episode for Baku, but it'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday next week because I'm flying back on Tuesday. So we'll do a little preview episode next week. It will not be on the usual slot. We'll get back to you. If you've got questions for Jake, drop them on the YouTube comments. If you haven't liked or subscribed or given us a 5-star rating, please do not rating bomb us. That's not nice. Yeah, don't do that. That's not good. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. And don't buy meat from Tesco, your local butcher. Show them some love.
Big up your local butchers.
And if you ever see cinnamon in baked beans, stay the hell away.
Yeah, get out. And that battered sausage, baby. All right. Woo! All right, Jake, thanks again, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Dan, big up yourself, all right?
Yeah, peace out. And, go update your grinder profiles. So
cool.